acknowledge that we were founded on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, the Attawandaronk, the Mississauga and Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and now live on land that is home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We have many representatives working across this land now known as Ontario, and we acknowledge that there are 46 treaties and other agreements that cover the territory. We are grateful to be able to work and live on this land, and thankful to the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people who have cared for these territories since time immemorial, and who continue to contribute to the strength of Ontario and to all communities across the province. To continue to center reconciliation, we encourage our team, partners, students, and teachers to take time to learn about the lands they are currently on. Visit native-land.ca for more information.
Hey, hi everybody. My name is Josh. I'm a grower and part owner here at TamBerries Farms, a strawberry greenhouse out near Chatham, Ontario. And today we're just going to go over the basics and what we do here every day. So if you guys have any questions along the way, feel free to add them, and then I'll be able to answer them as we go. If you see anything interesting, just shoot the question across. So to start, I'll probably just go over why we grow strawberries. So the reason we grow strawberries, we purchased this greenhouse about a year and a half ago. It's a smaller greenhouse. It's about 15 acres in size. And while that seems maybe like a large greenhouse in terms of the scale here in Ontario, it's actually a smaller farm. And the typical crops, tomatoes, peppers, and cucumbers, in a greenhouse of that size simply are just not economic anymore. So we had to find more of a niche or specialty crop, and that's where we found strawberries. So this is our second growing season in strawberries. You can see them behind me here. It's a heated greenhouse. We grow them through the winter. What we do is we plant them in June or July, and then we'll be picking them by September. And then from September through the winter to the following June, we'll be harvesting that crop. I guess the proper term for the plants we grow would be long day or day neutral. So these plants, they flower continuously. So typically, if you guys go strawberry picking in the summer, it'd be June or early July, and those are short day plants. So they only make flowers or initiate flowers or reproduction during short days. So when the days are typically under 12 or 13 hours. Meanwhile, these plants are the opposite. They only create flowers if the plant is in an environment with light more than 12 or 13 hours of the day. So what we have to do is, if you see behind me here, there's some light bulbs. There's one right over there as well. So those light bulbs are actually used in the evening time, when it's in the winter, when the days are shorter than 12 hours naturally. We supplement the light. There's not very much light. The vegetable greenhouses or the cannabis greenhouses that use grow lights, they use about 100 times the intensity of the light that we have here. So it's just a small amount of light. It's barely enough light to read with, but it's just enough to trick the plants that it's still daylight, so they continue to flower. If we didn't have these lights, the plant would stop flowering until around April. Joseph would like to know where we get our strawberry seeds or plants from. That is a great question. So right now, most of the strawberry plants grown in Ontario in greenhouses or a protected culture are actually grown or produced vegetatively. So that would be by cuttings, which is actually by runners. And I don't see too many runners right now, but a runner is like a side shoot or a sucker off a plant. I'll find that. Here's one. So a plant, it'll kick off these guys throughout the growing season. And all we do is we buy a plant that's made from one of these. So you can see on the bottom of it there's actually the growing little tips. So a propagator will get this and they'll stick it in the dirt and they'll water it for 3 or 4 weeks, and that's what we actually plant. So we plant a full out plug that has flowers already almost coming out. So usually from planting the plug to when we pick is only 4 or 6 weeks. Interestingly enough, Nancy's wondering how hot it gets in the greenhouse. Right now, strawberries are actually a pretty cool season crop. So they don't like it too hot. The variety that we grow, mostly Albion, uh, if it gets above 28 degrees, it really reduces or limits the flowering. So in the summer in the greenhouse, it's actually not great. That's why we do a crop rotation in the heat of the summer. Right now, when it's winter and it's a little bit sunny, uh, we try to hit between 16 and 18 degrees around noon, but at night we actually go down only to 8 or 9 degrees. It slows down the speed of the flowering and the production, but it does make the flavor of the berries much better. So here you can see I'm in a different greenhouse. I just came through the wall. This farm has 3 different sections. Here I'm in the glass section, so it's a more modern, newer built greenhouse. I'll turn the camera around here a second. Settings, camera, back camera. There we go. So now you guys can see better. So like I said, this is the glass greenhouse. It was built only a few years ago. You can see up top we have actually a curtain going across. So last night there was some pretty cold weather, and that curtain's used to just basically keep some warm air inside, so we don't have to use as much energy at night. And now when the sun's out, we'll slowly close the curtain and capture more sunlight. Chantel asked how many strawberries we produce. So you can see here now I'm going into the crop. So what we do basically per week, it varies. In the summer when there's a lot of sun, a lot of temperature, we'll produce anywhere from 4,000 to 8,000 boxes, which is 3.5 kilos per week, so 20 to 30,000 kilos per week. Right now it's about half of that, just because it's so cold, the plant speed's a little bit less. How do strawberries, so Taylor's wondering, how do strawberries turn from green to red and how long does it take? That does depend on the variety. So Albion, it goes from the tip to the calyx. That's how it ripens when it's cooler. So that's kind of what you see. Other varieties that we grow, they turn, the whole berry turns pink all at once. And from the time it takes, so in the summer when it's warm and there's good sun, from this flower to a red berry takes around 3 weeks or 30 days to go from flower to this. Right now in the winter, it takes 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the sun. And we can manipulate that a little bit. We can push some more temperature in, but it makes poor quality. Vera's wondering how long the plants last. So these plants, we'll plant them in June or July, and then we'll take these plants out and replant with new ones after 1 year. The plants, they would keep going. The problem is the plant does get tired, if you will. Like it gets, it only produces top quality fruit for a short amount of time. So the best time to replant is in the summer, so the plant can get reestablished for the winter. So you can see here, there's a high seed count on these strawberries here. So those would be nice large strawberries. Samantha's wondering, how do greenhouse strawberries compare in size and flavor to Ontario grown seasonal strawberries? Typically these should be larger. It does depend on which greenhouse and which varieties they're growing. Typically the June bearer ones that you pick in the field are 15 grams or so. So that they're this size or smaller. Right now the flavor of the greenhouse strawberries is definitely matching that of what would be June bearing strawberries. But in the summer, when the nights are warmer, it is tougher to match that flavor. I'm just going to show you guys some different varieties here, and you can see the different size, the different shape, different color. So here we have some other varieties. There's some good examples here. See, this one's a little bit longer, less white shoulder. Arthur's wondering why we only grow strawberries. Basically, strawberries is one of the first berry crops to be, successfully grown economically in a greenhouse. There's a lot of work being done with blackberries and raspberries to see how those will grow. But right now in a greenhouse in Canada or North America, only strawberries are really known. But we are eager to explore and see what other types of berries we can grow economically in a greenhouse. Here's another variety. Has a different shape. It's European, so it has a very different flavor. Uh, the market in Canada, like the consumer, so you and me, we prefer a crunchy berry that's dark red. But in Europe, like in England, in Holland, Belgium, Germany, they typically prefer a lighter color strawberry that's a lot softer. And the big problem that we have with that is that in Europe, the strawberry from harvest to when it's in the store is only 1 or 2 days. But typically here, if you sell wholesale, it takes 3 or 4 days to hit the supermarkets. And in that time, especially in the summer heat, these softer berries can get soft. So that's why we're growing a bit firmer berries, which has its pros and its cons. Craig's asking about pollinators. Actually, here is some pollinators right over here. So we use bumblebees. We bring in bumblebees. Here's a bumblebee hive right here. So we have 4 hives per acre. And we bring them in every couple weeks. And they live, their lifespan is 8 to 10 weeks in there. They do their thing pollinating all the flowers. And we get strawberries from them. Honeybees don't work very well in a greenhouse, especially in the winter. The cool temperatures are not great for them. And the glass actually does confuse them a little bit because they can't see the sun directly. It confuses them a little bit. So bumblebees are the better option. How often do you water the plants? Okay, Heather's wondering about watering the plants. So if you look here, there is every gutter. So if you look underneath, there's all these gutters hanging there, all the way down. And every gutter has a hose with a pressure regulated regulator on it. So at a certain pressure, at around 15 psi, this will open and it'll give a set amount per hour. So each of these will give 1.1 liters per hour when their pressure is turned on, and that's how we irrigate. So this greenhouse, which is 15 acres, it has 18 different valves, which I'll show you right here. So here's the irrigation line. So the lines come up, and here's the irrigation diaphragm. So what we can do is, from a computer system, we can turn this on and a set amount of times per day and irrigate the plants. All the irrigation water is pre-mixed with fertilizer to a set recipe. So all the nutrients come through the water. Speaking of that, the strawberry plants are grown in a coconut substrate. So it's actually the byproduct of the coconut industry. So if you guys have coconut milk or coconut beauty products or coconut oil, this is the byproduct of that. So they actually will grind up the husk from the coconut, and we will buy it and grow our plants in it. So you see there's the roots. As a grower, what we really like to see is the white roots. White roots mean they're fresh and they're new and they're active. So that means the plant's healthy. If you don't see any white roots or you see browning roots, then there's definitely an issue with either your irrigation strategy or you're pushing your plant too hard and it's gonna give up the ghost. So those are nice roots. Aram would like to know how many people we hire to help care for the strawberries. In the summer, like I said, in the summer we'll pick 4,000 to 6,000 cases per week. So in the summer we have upwards of 40 employees here. Right now we're only at around 20 employees. A lot of our employees in the summer, we hire seasonal workers just to fill that gap. But then we do have around 20 permanent year-round employees, which helps a lot. How many strawberry plants are there in the greenhouse? So we have, it's quite simple. Everything in a greenhouse goes back to square meters. All of our inputs go back to square meters. Our production goes back to square meters. Our fruit counts. So we have 10 plants per square meter. So we are right around 60,000 plants in this greenhouse, 60,000 individual plugs. And what a strawberry plant will do is it will split crowns. So when we buy these plants, the runner, I'll grab a runner for you. So when we buy these plants, all we get is this. There's one crown, there's one growing point, and a couple leaves. Over time, a strawberry plant will split crowns. You can see this plant now has 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 crowns. So this plant will just keep producing flowers off each of those crowns. So you can see here, there's a flower truss there. There's a flower truss coming right in there. Behind this leaf is another flower truss, plus all the flowers and leaves that are already hanging off of it. And that's the big benefit of growing a day neutral or a long day plant, is that it does keep flowering when the days are like this. We can talk about pests real quick in here. Does mold ever spread? So that's a good question. Um, in a greenhouse, the biggest issue we'd probably face would be powdery mildew, and that's what makes, it's the white fuzz you might see on your peppers in your garden or on leaves in a shady, wet spot. So mold is a pretty big issue. There's not many things in a strawberry greenhouse that you're allowed to spray. The list of registered fungicides is very small, and basically we use they're biofungicides or organic products like potassium bicarbonate or actinovate or problad. But we do have to spray every week with these biofungicides just to knock back the mildew, because there's no chemicals that are registered, so harsh chemicals that actually will control it. All we can do is just knock it back or suppress it. So we have to spray every week just to constantly suppress the mildew pressure. That's the only way that we can control it. Same with pests like bugs. Our biggest concern would be the western flower thrip. So if you look at a flower, actually you probably can't see it, but the thrips are just little white bugs, actually little beige bugs. There'll be some on this card right here. So if you see that little line right there, or all the little lines along the back, those are flower thrips. And they're pretty small. You don't really see them unless you're looking for them. But what they do is they will, them and their offspring will pierce and suck the skin of the strawberries. So if you have an issue with western flower thrips, the skin will get very tough and leathery and will also start turning brown. And if you don't control that over time, your flowers will actually become not viable because there's so much pressure. And in the end, they'll eat all your growing points and your plant will just stop growing. Thrips, mostly because of our closeness to the United States, most of the thrips we have here are resistant to any chemical. So even if we could use harder chemicals, they're resistant to any of those because some farms overuse them. So they spray the same chemical time and time again, hoping for the same results, and the bugs become, able to survive. So even on farms with crops like tomatoes or peppers or cucumbers where chemicals are permitted, um, thrips are not able to be controlled by chemicals just because they don't die from it. So what we have to do is use good bugs to kill the bad bugs. So you can see here, there's a sawdust on top. So every week we put out a small bug called cucumaris. It's a microscopic mite about the size of a grain of sand. And we put out around 100 to 200 per square meter. So every plant gets 10 to 20 of those small bugs. And they'll live around here underneath the calyx, and they'll eat the thrip larva. And that's really the only way to effectively control a thrip population. It's the same as the mildew, so it won't control and eliminate the thrips, but it'll keep their population in check. It's very foolish to think that you can eliminate thrips, but to be able to, I guess, work with them and live with them is the best way. So why do strawberries turn red? To be honest, I'm not sure why they turn the actual color red. That's just, I guess, the way God made them. But it does signify that they are ready to be harvested. Are any strawberries ever purple? We had a variety last year, a mutant variety. There was only 5 or 10 plants of it that were just growing very randomly. And they were very, very dark red, almost purple, but they were not a very good strawberry. They were too soft. They were too soft to be really viable in the market here. How did you get into the agriculture industry? I was, turn this around, one sec. we are. I was born, I guess, in a farming family. Grew up on a pig farm, and then my dad started working in a greenhouse. So here I am, working in a greenhouse. I've always wanted to do strawberries, and we had the opportunity a few years ago to get into it. So that's what we're doing strawberries. What else can we talk about? Oh, here, I can show you the heating of the greenhouse. So you're probably wondering, in your house, you have a furnace to keep your house warm. And if you leave a window open, or if you leave even the blinds open, it gets very cold. And we're in a 15-acre glass box, so it's kind of tough to keep it heated. So what we do is we use the energy curtain, as you can see above me here. That keeps a lot of heat in at night. But then how we heat the greenhouse is actually through these rails. So if you see these rails right here, it's like a mini train track. So every growing gutter has one of these rails beside it, and we use these for our carts. So if you look here, you can see a cart that rides on the rail. That's what the harvesters use for picking. But then also these rails, they're full of water that's connected to our boiler system. So at night we can run hot water through them and keep the greenhouse at a temperature that the plants need. Greenhouses are still. Oh, Dan, how did you learn so much about strawberries? Um, for about, I don't know, 8 or 9 years, I've been hoping to do strawberries in a greenhouse or some sort of strawberry farm. So I did a lot of reading, a lot of farm visits, seminars, those types of things, and a lot of trial by error. Last year was our first year. We were blessed with a really, really good crop, but there was also a lot of mistakes that we made. So yeah, I guess every year, every week, every month, we just have to look at the things we did wrong last time and not make the same mistake twice. Are these kind of strawberry plants different than the one that grows in lawns and stuff? Uh, yes. So the strawberries in your lawn, if you see little, really, I guess, small strawberry plants, they would be cousins of this one. They'd be a wild strawberry or like an alpine strawberry. And a lot of the plants that we grow and plants that we eat, like tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, even corn, um, their great grandparents, where those plants came from, are not a plant that we'd recognize. Like corn or maize used to be grass. Tomatoes used to only grow up in the mountains and used to just be little small things the size of your pinky. Um, Same with strawberries. Those alpine ones is kind of the alpine strawberries that you see in your lawn. That's where strawberries came from. And through many years of breeding, not genetic modifying, but just breeding. So taking one strawberry plant that had big fruit and breeding it with another strawberry that had good strong fruit, using the pollen in the flowers. Through many years of that, they're able to select which parent strawberries that they like, and then they can get daughter plants and keep breeding and developing that way. Sam would like to know how long it takes to build the greenhouse. So we purchased this greenhouse as an existing pepper farm. So this was peppers when we bought it, and then we took out all of the pepper growing stuff, so the pepper gutters, the pepper irrigation, the pepper heating, and we put strawberry stuff in. And that took around 2 months to do, and it was not a lot of fun. It was crazy. But to build a new strawberry greenhouse, the big thing would be to find a site that has the gas for heating, so natural gas. You need a lot of water, so you need to have either a good well or municipal water, and you need to have enough electricity for all the pumps, all the fans, all the water circulation. So that's honestly probably the hardest part of building a greenhouse, is finding that. Um, After that, you have to find land that's relatively flat, square, and it's close by all these things. And then to actually build, so from when, I guess, first shovel in the ground to when you can plant, usually if around a year, like so 12 months is a pretty average time to do that. Currently, because of just the way interest rates are in the economy, it's a bit slower. So it can be done a little bit faster because there's more people that are able to work on it. But yeah, typically if we wanted to plant a new greenhouse, if we started building today, we'd plant it in the summer of 2025. Ari asks, why did you want to work with strawberries for a job? Because they taste better than tomatoes and cucumbers. Um, yeah, strawberries just taste good. The growers always joke, if you bring your wife home a box of tomatoes, they're happy with you, but if you bring home a box of strawberries, they're a lot happier with you. And it makes sense. They taste good. There's a really, I guess, large demand for it. Um, California has 39,000 acres of strawberries. I don't know a good comparison in size for that, but 39,000 acres. Here in Chatham, your typical concession, so like a road block, is around 1 square or 1.5 square kilometers. Um, so I guess it'd be 39 of those, I think. Those are 1,000 hectares. So 39 of those. So 1 kilometer times 39 kilometers is how many strawberries there is in California. And they've had a lot of climate issues lately, whether it be lack of water or forest fires or dry or cold or cloudy or hot. So they're having a tough time producing the strawberries they have in the past. Um, Also, diesel fuel is getting much more expensive, or has been more expensive. So for the companies to grow the strawberries in California for cheap, but then to ship them here is very expensive, and also it hinders the shelf life. So there's a market opportunity here to grow strawberries for the Eastern North American market. But a lot of acres have gone in pretty quick. 5 years ago, there was only around 20, 25 acres of greenhouse strawberries, and now there's getting close to 400 acres. So a lot of people jumped in very fast into greenhouse strawberries, which is it's cool, it's exciting, but we all have a lot to learn, and to make sure that we grow nice, big, firm, sweet, red, sweet strawberries. So we still have a lot to learn. The variety game. So like I said, we grow Albion here. Um, Albion will soon not be grown anymore. It's just an old field variety that it's almost 20 or 21 years old. It's old, but it works, and that's why we grow it. But from a production standpoint, we need to be able to produce more. The shelf life needs to be better, and even some disease resistance. So you can have a strawberry plant that's resistant or tolerant of things like mildew. We have one variety that's actually tolerant of thrip damage. So Albion, if you have an average of 2 thrips living in one flower, that's kind of in Albion, that's when you start seeing issues. In this other variety, you can have 5 or 6 thrips, and there's no issue. So there's definitely a lot of work to do with the varieties. Parker asked, "Do you ever get stung by bees?" A couple times. Usually, if I'm being dumb, if I will go up to the beehive to check how they're doing, or to move them around, then I'll get stung. But the bumblebees are actually they're pretty calm. Like there's one flying right here. I can get him. There's a lot of bees in the greenhouse, and I got stung once last year, so it's not too big of a risk. But we do have some EpiPens in the office in case someone gets stung. Where can we buy your strawberries? Are they all over the province or only available to be purchased by you? Good question. So we're 15 acres. So like I said, we're not big, but we're bigger than a small. I don't know how to describe it. So we do wholesale all of our stuff. Um, it'd be too much for us to sell it all at the road or direct to the consumer. So we actually sell it to a middleman, Sunset. So that's if you go to the store, a lot of the tomatoes, peppers, and cucumbers you see they have the Sunset logo on it. So we sell our strawberries to that company, who in turn will market it to Walmarts or Sobeys or those types of stores. So typically most of ours will go to Walmart or Costco. So if you look at a store, and on the bottom of a clamshell, so if you grab a clamshell, flip it upside down, and you look beside the barcode, if you see a TBF, that would be TamBerries Farms. That would be our initial, and that can tell you, I guess, that those are strawberries. But we are a very small fraction of the strawberries here. We're less than 5% of the greenhouse strawberries in Ontario, and there's a couple hundred acres in Quebec and in the United States as well. So the chance of, I guess, finding ours among all the other ones is still fairly slim. How can someone get into farming if they're interested in it? Um, Farming, I don't know. I don't know a lot about field farming. So we do have strawberries outside in high tunnels, so in like a greenhouse that's not heated. So we have 12 acres out there to try produce in the summer. Um, so I guess that's the extent of my knowledge of outdoor farming. But for greenhouse farming, there's a massive demand for people that want to do it. Um, a lot of investment companies or large companies have put a lot of money and investments into these greenhouses, And in the last 10 years, the acreage has more than doubled here in Ontario. It's gone from almost 3,000 acres. No, sorry, it's gone from 2,000 acres to over 4,000 acres of greenhouses in southern Ontario, mostly around Leamington, but Chatham, St. Thomas as well. And basically, each 20 acres of greenhouse, it needs a grower, it needs an assistant grower, it needs a supervisor. So there's a massive, I guess, gap where we need people that want to do the work. And it is work. Like you have to check so many things. You have to check all the irrigation, check the plants, check the bugs, check the labor, check all the growing points in the climate strategy. So you have to check the vents, make sure they open the right time, make sure your curtain opens the right time, make sure your rails are on at the right time, all to make the perfect growing environment. Because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to replicate or duplicate the outdoor growing environment, the humidity, the CO2, the light, the temperature, all those things that if you get them wrong, they can impact your yield, which in the end impacts your business. The margins are not very, very large. There's not a lot of room for error. So like I said, if our goal is to hit 12 kilos per square meter, so every plant producing 1,200 grams, if we only hit 1.1 or 1,100 grams per plant, so not even a 10% difference, yeah, that'd be pretty bad for our business. So you have to maximize it. The favorite part of my job, I like working with the people. It's a lot of fun to see the guys. It's a smaller farm, like I said. I used to work at a farm that had over 300 people, and you lose track of who is who. And it's not, yeah, it's more of just a big business at that point. But now that we have 40 people, 50 people that you see every day, you know them, you know their family, you know what they're doing. For the guys that come from Jamaica or Thailand, you know their life story, and that's very, very rewarding to do. The other thing that's a lot of fun is to work with the plants. So I'll turn the camera around 1 second here and just explain one thing. Back there. So the growing of a plant, I guess there's more to it than just giving the plants water. So what we do is we look at this plant, so you see how many fruit, how many flowers, and you see what's coming. So at this plant, you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, plus this one. So there's 4 flower trusses coming, flower clusters. There's flowers in there. So we would look at that. We would look at the diameter of this, so how thick that is, how many leaves are coming. We'll pull this up and look at the roots and all those things. And that's what we look at hundreds of times every day at all the different plants. Not every single plant, but many different plants. And that's what we use to influence our decisions. So if we saw a plant like, here's another variety that's doing very poor. So this one here, there's no trusses coming. The one truss that's here is extremely thin. So this plant is the exact opposite. It's given a lot of itself to production early. So you can see that was full of strawberries, and this is strawberries, and this is strawberries. A lot of strawberries on this one plant. But the problem is with the low light that we have, it just can't fill it all. So it can't produce all these strawberries and grow leaves and make roots and produce more strawberries in the heart of the plant for future harvesting. So a plant like this, we would have to take it easy on. So we would cool the temperatures down. We would ease up on the fertilizer, ease up on humidity, change the rising and falling of temperature, just to make it easier on that plant. But this plant, the one that had 6 or 7 flower trusses coming, yeah, it needs some more temperature. So that's the most enjoyable part, is to manipulate the plants and the climate to get what we're hoping for. Settings. Right. So it says, thanks for a great tour. So I think that's my cue to stop talking. Yeah, if you guys have any other questions, you know, I guess my name and everything now, so reach out. And thanks for joining in. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the questions. And if you like farming, like plants, like bugs, bees, people, look into a job in greenhouses. It's a lot of fun. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.